Welcome to the AC 24/7 Top Story Countdown. We'll guide you through the biggest news of the day. Our focus, advocating our rights, advocating health, and advocating Earth. Here's our pick for number 4.
Disturbing new details surfacing about this crash. About 200 yards away from the White House. Monday night, a driver ramming a U-Haul truck into a security barrier twice.
That's a major threat, and we have to assume that the back of that truck was full of explosives. Luckily, it wasn't.
U.S. Park Police released some details about the man behind the wheel. He's been identified as 19-year-old Sai Varshith Kundula, who exited the truck with a Nazi flag on him. According to court documents, the suspect told officers he wanted to kidnap and harm President Joe Biden. Kundula was arrested on several serious charges, including threatening to kill, kidnap, or inflict harm on a president, vice president, or family member. Inside the 26-foot moving truck, investigators did find a black backpack, a notebook, and a roll of duct tape.
They did find a notebook of some kind in the truck with a lot of writings. It was described to me as rambling.
Several roads in the area were closed off, and the nearby Hay Adams Hotel was briefly evacuated. The Secret Service says there were no injuries. President Biden was in D.C. Monday meeting with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to discuss the debt ceiling.
He's relieved that no one was injured last night and grateful to the agents and the law enforcement.
Experts say the response was appropriate and effective, as Park Police, Secret Service, and the FBI are working together to figure out the motive.
They're all working on this, and they will get to the bottom of it.
I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's Top Story Countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
A new warning from the highest level, a youth mental health crisis unfolding before our eyes. Social media can pose a profound risk of harm to the mental health and well-being of children and adolescents. That's according to a 25-page advisory from the U.S. Surgeon General. Earlier this year, Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy warned of the unfair matchup.
You're pitting a child against the world's greatest product designers, and that's just not a fair fight.
Nearly every U.S. teenager is on social media. Up to 95% of kids ages 13 to 17 report using social media, with more than a third using it all the time. Kids must typically be 13 to register on social media apps, but nearly 40% of children ages 8 to 12 use it anyway.
I think that it's a time, early adolescence, where kids are developing their identity, their sense of self, and the skewed and often distorted environment of social media often does a disservice to many of those children.
The advisory concluded we do not yet have enough evidence to determine if social media is sufficiently safe for children and adolescents, calling for more research. But it did cite studies which found increased risk of anxiety and depression, poor sleep, online harassment, and low self-esteem.
The time I spent looking at all these attractive people doing amazing things in amazing places, getting disappointed by my own life is never something I want to be doing, especially when I have the power to change it, but I just wasn't because I was spending hours on this app.
Some experts say TikTok has the stickiest and most addicting algorithm, keeping people on the app longer. Last year, TikTok users spent an hour and a half per day on the app on average, more than any other social media platform. This as Montana becomes the first state to ban the social media app on all devices, prompting TikTok to sue.
I don't want to speak for all parents. I think it's very important that parents make their individual decisions with their children. But for me personally, I'm very comfortable with my children getting more involved with understanding technology at an early age.
TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram have parental controls that can monitor teens' screen time and content. But experts say the oversight should begin at home.
It's important, when possible, for parents and caregivers to really model how they would like their children to utilize social media.
Like the Advocate Channel on Facebook for the best way to get updates on stories that advocate for equality, justice, our rights, and more. AC 24/7 continues with today's top 2 pick.
Everything about this attack is unconventional. A 1950s anti-aircraft gun, fired flat. And the drone operator next to it, guiding the shots. Old and new fused as one. The target, a Russian base a mile away, beneath two white towers. Easy for the drone to see, becoming an easier shot for the gunner. We learned how to fire this ancient cast-iron gun from hidden positions, call sign Al says. They broadcast the video on our tablet, and we can see where we hit. It allows us to aim very fast and precisely. It's real shoot and scoot stuff. They've been on the position less than 5 minutes. They're getting out before the Russians can get a bearing on them and fire back. Nearby, a smaller gun, more improvisation, more shoot and scoot. For much of Ukraine's long front lines, hit and run is how troops probe for Russian weaknesses and an opening for the long-expected counteroffensive.
It's not like just like, hey, we're going. No, it's got to be a specific time when all the situation is good and we have advantage for it.
Do you feel that's close?
Yeah, definitely.
How close?
It's pretty close.
It's what commanders have been saying for a while. Reality, right now, it's cat and mouse, hiding, waiting, watching.
Russians understand that we will concentrate our forces. They try to hit as much so we, not to gather this, not to accumulate the forces. But on a daily basis, we have all information, changes in the tactics, changes in the operations, changes in the situation.
The lessons of Ukraine's recent small gains around Bakhmut. Russia regroups fast, steps up shelling, rapidly reinforces with troops from other front lines, meaning smaller attacks can create opportunity. When the big counteroffensive comes, the Ukrainians will need to muster as much firepower as they can, even old equipment like this, to pin down the Russians before they can send their own troops in. Only smartly used, sustained, an overwhelming force will win. And even then, there is no guarantee.
Follow the Advocate Channel on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on stories that matter every day. Here's our #1 story of the day. Take a look.
Memorial Day weekend is considered the unofficial start to summer, and with it, the start of a busy travel season.
This coming weekend, we're expecting to see levels we haven't seen since before the pandemic. FAA is projecting more than 51,000 flights on Thursday alone.
U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says even though this weekend will be a test of the system, he's confident airlines will be prepared. He said the department is collaborating with airlines to reduce congestion, and when things go wrong, pressure them to improve customer service.
Cancellation and delay rates were at unacceptable proportions last year, and it's important that that not happen again.
More than 42 million Americans are expected to travel 50 miles or more from home over the holiday weekend, a 7% increase over 2022, according to AAA. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby says the industry as a whole has done a good job to prepare for this summer.
And at United, we have 10% more employees per block hour than we had pre-pandemic.
Secretary Buttigieg said earlier this month, in terms of air traffic controllers, the government is still about 3,000 short, but are planning to hire 1,500 this year. For Scott Kirby, that remains one of the greatest concerns.
What we really need is the FAA reauthorization bill to authorize more funds. It's not their fault, by the way. It's a 20-year problem.
While most travelers will be driving to their destinations, car travel is still expected to be down slightly from pre-pandemic levels, with gas prices higher than 2019 levels, but still lower than this time last year. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Thanks for watching the Advocate Channel's top stories. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Follow, like, and share, or check out advocatechannel.com for even more stories that advocate for you.